Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, March 23rd, 2026, the Monday after Petty Feast. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes as 7 p.m. A warm welcome and greetings are extended to councillors, staff, delegations, and observers who will participate in this meeting, whether they are physically in attendance in the council chamber in Listowel or being connected through web technologies. We begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers, as able, are invited to stand. It should be noted that in our agenda tonight, there is a matter about adding council AV improvements to our budget, and I think you just had a demonstration as to why that might be useful. All right, we acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous people in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after this meeting as an archived video. To those viewing this meeting via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behavior and or comments. At this time, I invite your decorum, as always, over the course of the coming meeting. I have regrets tonight from Councillor Matt Richardson. Let us move to item 5 on our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. Members of council have full lives with engagement in their community. Sometimes they may find themselves with a potential financial or pecuniary interest in an item at the council table. Provincial legislation mandates councillors to declare this interest and in so doing avoid direct involvement in the consideration of and voting on the item. I invite all councillors with a perceived pecuniary interest, including those who have already so declared in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session. Documentation is to be submitted, if not already done, pursuant to council procedures. Councillors may declare now or at any point in the meeting should such interest be recognized. I have received ahead of this meeting a note from Councillor Blazek, so I'll turn the floor to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. I would like to declare pecuniary interest on item 15. I have been notified by staff that a member of my family has been nominated for one of the Celebrate North Perth Awards, and so I will not participate in discussion regarding that in our closed session, and then our 17.1 confirmatory bylaw when we exit closed session.
Thank you, Councillor Bozek. Colleagues, anyone else wishing to make a declaration at this hour? I am not seeing evidence of that, so let's move forward. As chair of this meeting, I will manage the flow of proceedings tonight and largely in accord with our agenda and rules of procedure. Some may be participating remotely by web conference. Should they wish to speak, they may draw the attention of the clerk to this using the conference technology's text chat function. If technical difficulties arise for remote participants, I will advise, and we do have Simon, one of our IT guys, on duty tonight to support. Let us now focus on the people's business. Part of that focus is achieved when those in chamber silence and put away their phones. Regarding item 6 of our agenda, I have a resolution for consideration to approve the agenda with an amendment, and I'll invite the clerk to speak briefly to that so that we understand what we're doing. Clerk Klein.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg, we are requesting that council approve the agenda as amended tonight to add an additional bylaw number 25-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a transfer payment agreement with the Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Klein. So, colleagues, the resolution for our consideration is as follows. The agenda for tonight's meeting be approved as amended to add the following item, Bylaw 25-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a transfer payment agreement with the Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Andreessen. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Let's move forward then to item 7 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they're believed to be non-contentious, yet they may warrant council's recognition and or action. Grouping them does tend to expedite our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, or individual action may do so. There are 20 items on the consent agenda tonight, including minutes of our last regular council meeting. Colleagues, anything to extract here or any corrections you'd like seen made to our minutes? Councillor Roth.
Good evening, Mayor Kasenberg, council, staff, and public. I would like to discuss further item 7.16, Township of Oro-Medonte resolution regarding request for provincial legislation amendments regarding health and safety concerns.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Anyone else? Councillor Anstad.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you, item 7.4 and 7.6, please.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, as is my customary procedure, we'll take those off the table first and deal with them and then consider the whole agenda afterwards. Councillor Rothwell, I'll give you the floor first to 7.16.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and through you, item 7.16 is a request from the Township of Oro-Medonte, which is brought forward through concerns raised by the Ontario Association of Road Superintendents. It's regarding health and safety matters, regarding employees that most municipalities have, public works employees. They are requesting the province consider amending in three different ways. Under the Emergency Management Civil Protection Act, when a municipality declares a significant weather event, municipal winter maintenance vehicles and operators, including subcontractors working on behalf of municipalities, should be afforded enhanced protection with interference or obstruction treated with the same severity as interference with police, fire, or paramedic services. Secondly, to establish clear public safety interference provisions similar to the intent of Ontario's Slow Down, Move Over legislation that recognize the essential role of municipal roads side workers. And lastly, to consider adopting provisions similar to Manitoba's recently passed Bill 38, an amendment to their Highway Traffic Act effective January 1, 2026, which requires motorists to maintain a minimum distance of 30 meters behind snow plows where speed limits are 80 kilometers or lower, and 100 meters where speed limits exceed 80 kilometers per hour. Uh, uh, Mr. Mayor, and Council, the AOR's letter does go into specific circumstances where some of their members have been uh, what's my word, interfered with by members of the public and others. And I think it's important for us to consider supporting the resolution from the Township of Oro-Medonte to request the province to consider such amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. So I'll consider it moved that this council issues a letter of support from it to the Council of the Township of Oro-Medonte regarding its correspondence calling for the province to change legislation with regards to health and safety concerns for roadside workers, as stipulated in their letter. And I believe that we would copy this to the usual suspects, courtesy to MP Nader, just so that he knows what's going on, but certainly to MPP Ray and to other municipalities. Councillor Rothwell?
Yes, please, Mayor Todd, and may I also suggest the Association of Ontario Road Superintendents as well?
Right. So the originating letter. Great. Essentially got that? All right. Thank you. Can I call for a seconder? Councillor Pasek, thank you. Any discussion or debate? I'm not seeing any, so if the clerks are ready, let's have that vote. And that is unanimously carried. Thank you for drawing that to our attention, Councillor Rothwell. Let's turn next to Councillor Anstett, item 7.4.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Through you, item 7.4 and 7.6, respectively, the Township of Howick and the County of Prince Edward regarding sustainable police services funding. And I know, Mayor Kasenberg, you're well aware of this through your work on the Police Services Board. We're just looking for council support. As everyone knows, this is one of the largest items in our budget and one of the least flexible items, I would say, in many cases. So again, just looking for council support to send a letter to the province, again, highlighting the severity of this issue and again, lending support to our neighbors as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So considered moved, I assume the clerk's table can draft an appropriate resolution issuing a letter of support for both of those items, I assume is your intent, items 7.4 and 7.6. And again, usual suspects, I assume, MPP Ray, other Ontario municipalities, and the right ministries. I assume transportation would be pretty paramount on that one. Okay, and Solicitor General, Solicitor General. Anyone, so moved? Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Callum, thank you. Any discussion or debate? I'm not seeing it, so if you've got something mocked up there for us, let's have the vote.
I'm in favor, Mayor Kasenberg.
And Councillor Anstett records a manual in favor vote, and that therefore becomes unanimous. Thank you for drawing those to our attention. All right, then with that, we can proceed to consider the usual resolution for the consent agenda as follows. That consent items 7.1 to 7.20 be received for information, and the minutes of the March 9th, 2026 regular council meeting be adopted. Can I call for a mover on this one? Councillor Nordholm, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Anstett. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, so we can move past this to item 8. Our agenda tonight indicates that we will hold a public meeting pertaining to matters under the Planning Act in the next time interval. For the purpose of executing this public meeting, I use my discretion as head of council to announce a recess that will last exactly the duration of the public meeting. And with that, we are adjourned. All right. To those with us this evening, welcome to a public meeting dealing with an application made under the Planning Act. This public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for a proposed amendment to the North Perth zoning bylaw. This is a statutory public meeting to deal with an application for zoning bylaw amendment number ZN 12-2025 by Listowel Community Church for property legally described as Part Lot 36, Part Lot 46, and Part Lot 47, Plan 155, Listowel Ward in the municipality of North Perth. Correspondence, reports, and comments received regarding this application will be considered by council. Those in attendance wishing to make comment concerning this application will be given an opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to appeal the council's decision in this matter must make verbal submission during this public meeting or have made a written submission to council. Those wishing to receive notice of the decision regarding this application must notify the clerk via email, telephone, or by utilizing the public meeting sign-in sheet that is located at the back of the council chambers on the desk back there, giving their mailing address and telephone number. At this time, I'm going to call for a summary of this application. We are joined, as we commonly are, by Nathan Garland, a planner for the County of Perth who works on North Perth files. Mr. Garland, always a pleasure. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor Kasenberg and members of North Perth Council. I'm here to present application ZN 12 2025. It is a rezoning request to an institutional zone from a residential zone. The subject to application and property is noted there, and it is on behalf of Listowel Community Church. And there's just the property outline showing there on Halstead. So the requested rezoning is to rezone from an R4 zone, so the property has maintained an R4 zone over a number of years, to an institutional special zone. The institutional special zone will identify a number of relief requested. So it would be a requested relief of an interior side yard down to 0.43 meters, minimum rear yard depth down to 3.65 meters, minimum front yard depth down to 4.25 meters. They had requested 3, so this is just a small change, and I'll go over that a little bit further on. And then a minimum parking requirement down to 11 spaces from the 20 that's required. So about 4 different relief provisions requested for the special institutional zone. Council will know that there's an existing church there, so not a lot of this will change at the present time. So this is as part of a future proposed addition that they're planning. So this kind of facilitates that addition that they're considering. A couple of just photos from the property looking from Halstead towards the property. Once again, not much of this will change. A lot of the relief requested also is in recognition of the existing church that's there. So just to validate that and acknowledge the church that's existing there. So just looking towards the east there. And then looking for the parking lot further towards the north. So there is a proposed addition coming out that would enclose their accessway and ramp. This will allow for a little bit more assembly space, not so much the sanctuary space, but really this is just provide additional entryway and staging there for folks coming in. Site plan that's been provided as well too. Could have been centered a little more. My apologies. Just outlining the proposed parking area as well as the additions. The addition is outlined in a dotted area, so that's the proposed addition that they're looking to put on. Once again, it's not for sanctuary space. This is just to accommodate people walking in and out of the church and enclosing the access way. So to facilitate that. Once again, just the surrounding development. So it is just off the Halstead. Just looking at the surrounding development is primarily residential through that area. So this is one institutional area in there. Some downtown commercial towards the west, but primarily residential surrounding the area. Some planning comments and just some justification comments. So the setbacks would accommodate the proposed addition. So primarily the main setback that they're requesting is with respect to the front yard setback. So that's, they requested 3 meters. Staff are suggesting a 4.25 just because Halstead is not a full 66 feet wide. It's a 50-foot wide street, so a little bit narrower through there. Updated entryway and enclosed access ramps. This is to provide the congregants a little bit better access way through there. I think they're tired of shoveling snow through the pathway through there, so just looking to clear that up a little bit. And then once again, no change in sanctuary space, so the occupancy of the church and the parking will remain the same. So they're not looking to up the occupancy at all. Really, just this is enclosure space for their access. Comments provided. No comments from the public have been provided, so none of the neighbors have provided any comments either for or against. Staff did provide comments. This is just the outline requesting the 4.25 meters up from the 3 meters that they were requesting. Really, this is to address Halstead, which is not quite the full 66 feet wide, so it is quite narrow through there. Just a little bit more relief. This would also align with the residential building that's located directly to the north, so that would maintain a similar, I'll say, wall face along the entire length of that. Planning staff have also discussed this with the applicants and notified them, and they seem supportive or accepting of the relief requested. Provincial policy statement, county official plan statement all support the creation and allocation of institutional uses throughout the residential areas to support the community. Grading and drainage would be required as part of a building permit application, and it's very much a similar style of the surrounding area. So it's a 1-story, 1.5-story type development, maintains a similar look and style to what's existing there. Really very small changes would be noted other than save except for the addition. So the parking remains the same, the main building remains primarily the same. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that North Perth Council approve zoning amendment Z12, 2025. I'm happy to address or answer any questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Garland. You can confirm the date of notice of public meeting delivery.
I might like to the clerk to see if she has that. Apologies.
Through the mayor, notices inviting persons to the public meeting were mailed on March 3rd, 2026 to landowners within 120 meters of the subject property and emailed to all applicable agencies. And the notice was also posted on our website and on the subject property on March 3rd, 2026.
Thank you. And to the clerk, we haven't received any additional correspondence that perhaps Mr. Garland's not aware of.
Through the mayor, no additional correspondence has been received.
All right, thank you. So this is the opportunity in this public meeting for those who wish to make comments to do so. First, we call for those who are in favor of this application other than the applicant. This is your opportunity to speak in favor of this application. Does anyone wish to avail themselves of that opportunity? I'm not seeing any hands waving at me or anyone approaching. All right. Any who are opposed to the application may also address council at this time. Anyone wishing to avail themselves of that opportunity? I'm not seeing any expression of that. At this time, there is the opportunity for the applicant or the applicant's agent to address council. Does anyone wish to take us up on that opportunity? All right. Please identify yourself and where home is, kind of thing. And
thank you, through you, Mayor, and to the council. I'm Matthew Reimer. I live in Listowel, and yeah, I do attend church. I'm on the board for Listowel Community Church. So thank you for your time in hearing this, and thank you, Mr. Garland, for presenting the file. Excellent job there. As you said, there's no change to the sanctuary space, along with the enclosing in the ramp and the accessible area into the building. We are hoping to square off the front of the church and put in a accessible washroom then on that main floor for people, because we currently don't have that right now, and that is something we would really desire. So that's kind of the only thing I really wanted to add. But no, just thank you for your time, and any questions, I would be happy to answer them. But I think Mr. Garland did a great job. So.
Great, thank you so much. All right, anyone else on behalf of the applicant? I think that's all right. Let's turn then to my colleagues on council. Do any of you have questions or comments that you wish to make at this point in the public meeting? Okay, I'm not seeing any comments or questions at this point. So, statutory notification. Thank you, Mr. Garland. Notice of the decision of council will be given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Council's decision is subject to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. And with that, we can adjourn this public meeting. All right, I'm calling council meeting back into regular session and declare the recess period over for our public meeting. We have a resolution to consider as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives the report dated March 23rd, 2026, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Z12-2025, submitted on behalf of Listowel Community Church, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves zoning bylaw amendment Z12-2025 submitted on behalf of Listowel Community Church affecting lands described as Part Lot 36, Part Lot 46, and Part Lot 47, Plan 155 in the municipality of North Perth, municipally known as 156 Halsted Avenue North. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Nordholm, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. And congratulations to our friends from the church on your construction. We look forward to seeing it. Thanks. All right, let's turn to item 9 then on our agenda. First, we have an item from the Strategic Initiatives Department, is item 9.1. In item 9.1.1, staff bring forward an update on our attainable and affordable housing community improvement plan, with proposed updates to the plan, mostly around the naming, and the policy that support implementation. I'm going to call on our Director of Strategic Initiatives, Jessica McLean. I had to think about directorship. That's something. To share a report with us. Welcome, Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Kiesenberg, and good evening, Council. So, as Council is aware, the North Perth Attainable Housing Community Improvement Plan was adopted and implemented in 2024. So, to date, 4 applications have been received for the CIP with 1 agreement established, and that is in relation to the Listowel Gardens development that is currently under construction. So, in preparation for the next CIP application intake period, staff have completed a review of the CIP documents as well as feedback we've received to date. So, this report seeks Council's approval in making some minor updates to the CIP and the implementation policy, and the changes are summarized in the chart featured in the report. So, as mentioned by the mayor, one key change is an update to the naming of the document just to provide a bit more clarity on what it applies to. Another key change that is being proposed is reducing the attainability or affordability commitment period for ADUs that are developed through the CIP. So, this would be reducing that to 10 years instead of the current 20. We have received feedback from potential applicants that the 20-year commitment period is a bit of a deterrent to participation when they are developing these on their properties. So, the larger projects that benefit from the TEAG program or the DC rebate program, they would still need to comply with that 20-year commitment period. So, that's important to note. So, overall, following Council's approval of these changes, staff will work on a marketing plan that will be released to the public in to start the next intake period, which will be on April 1st of this year. Then moving forward in future years, we'll aim to have that begin on February 1st. So I can take any questions Council may have.
Thank you, Ms. McLean. Colleagues, questions or first comments before we consider a resolution? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd, and through you, thanks very much, Jessica, for your presentation. Can you just inform council and the public about on additional residential units in someone's dwelling, for example, what would the amount be for someone that would be approved under the program, please?
Through the mayor, thank you for that question. So for an ADU, if you were building that or constructing that on your property, you would be eligible to apply to the ADU grant program, and that provides a grant covering 50% of eligible project costs up to a maximum of $10,000. If you do meet sustainable building criteria, that would be $15,000 would be the maximum. As well, they would be eligible to apply for the planning and building permit fee grant, which is a grant covering 50% of eligible costs up to a maximum of $5,000. So you're looking at 15 to 20,000 maximum.
Thank you through the mayor. Thanks very much, Jessica. The concern I have is that we're having the same amount of money that we expected to have a 20-year agreement, and we're going to 10. We're still giving them the same amount of money, and frankly, I'm not so sure that that's the best bang for the buck for the municipality. I could certainly consider some lesser amount of maybe 15 years or something like that. But it's I understand the trepidation, but there's a lot of money that is happening, and the expectation, I think, in terms of public dollars, is that they should be willing to step forward and do that for a much more than a 10-year period, in my view. So I've expressed my concerns. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Anyone else wishing to weigh in? Deputy Mayor Killam.
Yes, thank you, through Mayor Kasenberg. So do any of these changes affect the current development that's going on at the East End?
Through the mayor, no, they do not.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Needham.
Thanks, Mark Giesenberg. I would just like to quickly echo what Councillor Rothwell had mentioned. I think 10 years is just a little too short. As you mentioned, 15 years, I think that might be a little more in the ballpark, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to go down to 10, in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Okay. Did we receive advice from public consultation on the duration of commitment of that grant? Can you comment on that?
So the public would have had the opportunity to comment on that when we did have the draft CIP out for public comment. I don't recall at that time if there was any comments received in regards to this matter. We could look at doing the 15 years and monitoring if we get any feedback or if this program is more popular and see where that takes us.
Has any party come in and considered applying and said, oh no, I'm not going to sign on the dot for 20 years?
So for the 3 of the 4 applications we received once they were presented with the agreement that outlined that commitment, that was the key reason why they chose not to continue on.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions or comments? Councillor Blazek.
Thank you, through Mayor Kisenberg. Just to sort of follow up with that, did you have discussions with these 3 applicants about what would be an acceptable timeline? Like, was 10 sort of what they mentioned? You know, I kind of feel the same way as Councillor Rothwell and Councillor Nordum. It's easier to, you know, reassess this in a year and go down again if we need to than it is to go back up.
Through the mayor, I agree. I'm unsure if the applicants gave feedback on exactly what they were looking for. We did review CIPs from other areas to kind of do a bit of a scan of what those timelines were, and they fell between that 20 to 10-year period.
Okay, anyone else? All right, there's sort of at least an undertow of a will of council here not to take the 10 years. So does someone want to put forward a proposition? Do we want to try this for a year with request more feedback and perhaps see this the next term of council? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Kasenberg. I think that's an excellent item for consideration. If council agrees that we consider the amendments certainly to the name of the plan, which is the primary matter, but certainly if we went from the proposed 10 years up to the 15, so a reduction of 5 years from the 20 to the 5, knowing full well that that's just for the additional dwelling units. It's not the TIG process, and certainly doesn't affect the project under construction on the west side. So if we need something further to suggest that if council agrees that we would come back and have further discussion about how the project is going and other possible amendments, I'm open to that as well. Thank you.
Do we bring forward an annual report on the performance of this program?
Yes, we will.
That's
Yep.
the intention.
Part
So
of the
then this
plan.
council will probably see, not this council, the next council will see this in around this time next year. It might be prudent at that point then for this council, that council, to evaluate the performance and see whether there's been any movement with 15 years, and perhaps even in advance of that, there could be some public consultation. Just a stray thought. So, Councillor Rothwell, if I'm following your suggestion, we're suggesting that we like most of it, but maybe change it from 10 to 15 years for the ADU grant, and acknowledging, I mean, if it's built in that you're bringing back an annual report, then the next council a year from now can look at this and see where we are, right? Is that fair? Okay, so let me just sort of straw vote this. People comfortable with us moving it to 15 years instead of 10? Okay, I'm seeing lots of nods and thumbs up, that kind of thing. So I think there is a will if we can adjust this resolution or add to this resolution before we consider it. That might be helpful. Clerk Klein and Deputy Clerk Carter, you got a working theory here about how we do this?
Yes, through you, Mayor Kasenberg, we would recommend that council approve the recommendation as presented with an additional wording at the end of the second clause, just adding that we are approving the community improvement plan implementation policy as amended to update section 6.2 of the policy from 10 years to 15 years for ADU grants.
Okay. Okay. I got it. You got that sort of captured in what would show on our screen for us. All right. So are you prepared to move the whole thing? Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Seconded by Councillor Johnson, nodding his head. Any further discussion or debate?
Just further, the one application that I believe we have an agreement with, have they signed the agreement so they're subject to the 20 years because that was in place at the time, or how does
Through
that
the
work?
mayor, they have signed the agreement, but they're not eligible for the programs that would be the reduced number of years.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Duly moved, seconded. We've got it, the language fixed for us to our 15-year requirement. Let's have that vote. And that is carried. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McLean. Let's turn next to an item from the Infrastructure Services Department, item 9.2 of our agenda, and item 9.2.1, staff bring forward a report addressing the naming of roads and area naming for what we have been historically calling the Northeast Development Lands, or even more colloquially, the Moorlands. I'll call on GIS technician Jennifer Roth to bring us up to speed on the propositions for naming here. Welcome, Ms. Roth. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and good evening, members of council and staff. So as the Northeast Development Lands move through draft approval, we have the opportunity to formally name both the employment area and the new streets within. And staff has reviewed potential names and narrowed the options down to the Moore Innovation Park or the Eastview Employment District. Staff recommend the Eastview Employment District as this best reflects the intended employment focus and provides flexibility for consistent naming in other parts of the community should a corresponding development be established at the west end of town. In accordance with North Perth's Municipal Addressing and Procedure Manual, naming of roads requires approval from resolution of council. Staff recommend naming Street 2 as Cargus Street East in recognition of Elsie Cargus, a local trailblazer and the first female warden of Perth County. If council prefers a name that more directly references her first name, we could also choose Elsie Street East. Staff recommend naming Street 3 as Moore Avenue North, which is a name drawn from North Perth's historic road name inventory. Both proposed street names have been verified with Perth County and confirmed not to correspond with any existing road names in the county's database. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those now.
Thank you, Ms. Roth. Colleagues, questions, comments? Nobody wants to pick up on the Eastview thing? It doesn't strike me that it's that far east. That's my criticism, I suppose, of that particular name, right? Like, I guess it's looking east if you're standing and looking towards the east, but it doesn't feel that far east to me, especially given that we have lands that will develop on the farther east, towards the boundary. So I'm a little bit concerned about that name myself. Councillor Andreessen.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. I was actually feeling the same way about it's a very generic kind of approach to that type of naming, and I would prefer something that's more specific and something to think about. I just find that just super generic. I also just want to give my support on the naming of the Carga Street East, although I am open to having Elsie's first name because um, the Carga's name is well known and that's wonderful, but I'm not sure if it's more representative of her to have her first name there, but just some of my thinking. Thanks.
All right. Anyone else, colleagues? We need to make a decision here. Do we go with Eastview or do we just call it the Moore Employment District or the Moore Innovation Lands or whatever it was that you had? Councillor Blazik.
Thanks, through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. It is not so east, maybe more northeast, but I also like to echo the idea of LC Street versus Cargus.
Okay. Anyone else with comments? So what are we naming this area? Are we going with Eastview? More Innovation
Moore Innovation Park.
Park. Councillor Johnston.
It's always been the Moore Farm, and I think it should have something more in it because you're right, there's going to be lots of stuff to the east of it developed at some point. So I'm more in favor of something with the Moore name in it, and I 100% support the names of the streets, Moore Avenue North and Carga Street. I'm fine with those, but I think Eastview is good, but it's really not that east. It's more Northview.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound right either. So I'm more in favor of the Moore name involved.
Thanks. Given the way we grow, it might not be East or Northview very long. Councillor Duncan.
I'm going to agree with Councillor Johnson. I think we should name it the Moore Innovation Park. The street names, I could go for either Elsie or Cargus, or maybe it's E. Cargus Street.
Anyone else wanting to weigh in on this? Certainly the Cargus family has been around some time and has many distinguished members, but there is something very special to recognizing Elsie and her contributions to our community, I think, and to Perth County as well. So I guess I'm kind of leaning towards Elsie or E. Cargus Street, not to be confused with some kind of like e-scribe or electronic purpose. But anyway, Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Todd. I agree with what's been suggested in terms of the Moore Innovation Park. I think that is a nod to history. I'm just wondering if council would consider, and if we need staff input, as to whether we just have LC Cargus Street and say what it is, as opposed to people wondering who E Cargus is. it would be there specifically, and I think I would certainly be in support of that. Thank you.
Okay. So we have multiple ideas about how to pay tribute to Elsie Cargus with regards to road naming. Anyone, Doug, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I'm on board with Councillor Rothwell.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm kind of leaning there too, actually. I think that's a reasonable choice. Okay, so we're going to change this resolution up on you. Council of the Municipality of North Perth establishes the name of Moore Innovation Park for future marketing and branding of the Northeast Development Lands, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth names Street 2 as Elsie Cargus Street East and Street 3 as Moore Avenue North. Got it? Can I call for a mover? Councillor Anstett, thank you. Councillor Duncan will be our seconder on this one. Any further discussion or debate? I'm not seeing any, so let's have that vote. And that is carried unanimously. You don't always encounter council trying to change your thinking, but sometimes there might be some wisdom in it. All right, thank you, Ms. Roth and the team. Let's move on to Corporate Services Department, item 9.3 on our agenda. For item 9.3.1, staff bring forward a report that addresses possibilities for stormwater financing into the future, responding to council mandate further to an advocacy letter from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture. Options include dismantling our special area rate for Listowel and placing stormwater costs onto the general tax levy, or continuing with the special area rate. Whatever councils will, stormwater infrastructure will become a lot more costly over the next decade based on our last study, and there is a proposition to undertake another stormwater study in 5 years or so. I'm going to call on our Director of Corporate Services, Ashton Romani, to walk us through this. Welcome, Mr. Romani. This one was of interesting complexity.
Thank you, Mike Kiesenberg, and good evening, members of council. So as mentioned, this report provides an update on the stormwater rate study in response to council's direction back in November. At that time, council asked staff to review the stormwater funding and specifically investigate what the stormwater system would look fully funded under the general tax levy. To provide an overview, stormwater funding supports a range of infrastructure, including but not limited to storm sewers, culverts, drainage systems, the conduit, and the municipality's obligations under the Drainage Act. Currently, the municipality follows a hybrid funding model with approximately $325,000 funded through the Listowel Stormwater Special Area Rate, with an additional $415,000 through the general tax levy. So in response to council direction, staff reviewed the implications of moving to a general tax levy only funded model. So to replace the current stormwater special area rate, this would require a 1.5% increase to the general tax levy, simply to maintain existing funding levels. Given the special area rate model and this approach, there are distributional impacts of eliminating the special area rate. As shown in the impact in the comparison graphics in the report and also on the screen there, properties in Listowel would generally see a decrease due to the removal of the special area rate, while properties outside of the Listowel boundary would see an increase as costs are redistributed to the broader tax base. These visuals are intended to demonstrate how the changes affects who pays rather than the total cost of the service. Separate from the funding model, the rate study identified long-term stormwater funding needs are significantly higher than current funding levels. Initial estimates are approximately $1 million annually, increasing to nearly $3 million over the next 10 years to fully fund the stormwater infrastructure requirements. If council refers to the project funding graphic included in the report, so it's the next the bar chart there, it illustrates the gap clearly, showing current funding levels compared to the projected needs over the 10-year horizon on an annual basis. So to close that gap over time, incremental annual increases of approximately $200,000 to $300,000 per year, or roughly 1.3% on the tax year on the general tax levy over a 10-year period would be required. If this gap closed today, this would equate to roughly a 13.3% general tax levy increase. So the presentation method you see there is consistent with how we propose the asset management plan for illustration purposes to demonstrate the funding gap. So at full implementation, as mentioned, the total stormwater funding requirements would be approximately $2 million, $2.9 million, $3 million annually. This obviously is not recommended for immediate implementation, but is intended to provide kind of a clear understanding of what the benchmark is of the gap. The report further outlines the advantages and disadvantages of a general tax levy only approach. On the positive side, it simplifies the model and distributes costs more broadly. However, it places additional pressure on the general tax levy and requires stormwater funding to compete with other municipal priorities on an annual basis. The report also responds to concerns raised by the Perth County Federation of Agriculture. Staff provided a response to the Federation this past Friday once the agenda package was published, acknowledging the correspondence and outlined how stormwater funding is currently applied. To be clear, the current funding approach the municipality has does not apply a direct stormwater charge to agricultural or managed forest properties. At the same time, municipal drainage systems, culverts, and road infrastructure provide broader benefit across the system, and continued support through the general tax levy remains appropriate to a certain degree. Overall, the key takeaway is that the stormwater funding pressures are increasing, and while there are multiple ways to structure funding, the 2026 budget maintains the current funding hybrid model, as we have in previous years. Staff are recommending that the stormwater rate study be updated in the next 5 years, following additional analysis of infrastructure needs across the municipality, not just Listowel alone, particularly in the hamlet areas, to provide a more fulsome rate study for council's consideration at that point in time. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Romani. My obvious question is, can we invite the province to bring a wheelbarrow of money to help us with the stormwater demands of the next decade? All right, colleagues, questions, first comments? Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Ashton. So under the current structure, agriculture or managed forests don't pay towards the current funding structure, right, for stormwater?
So through your Mayor Kasenberg, there's no direct charge. There is a general tax levy component of roughly $415,000 that's applied across the municipality, but there's no special area rate for a managed forest or farm properties specifically.
Okay, so I still have a bit of an issue, and even through our hamlets, like a year or two ago, the New Bigging drain was fixed up through Britain, and every house owner in Britain was assessed drainage towards that, fixing up that drain. So every rural property, even in hamlets, are paying towards drainage already. So I think we should maintain that special area rate because there is more benefit to the urban areas than the rural areas get for it. I know there's culverts need fixed and roads need drainage upgrades all the time, but I still think there's more onus on those rural properties already because of the Drainage Act that they still, if a drain goes by your farm, you cannot not pay for it when it's improved. So you know, 1 year you're paying towards this, and if we take it off the Listowel special area rate, that's going to put more pressure on our general. And then if the drain goes by your farm or your house, you're going to get smoked again. So I think we definitely need to maintain that special area rate to take some of the pressure off the general levy. My thoughts. Thank you.
And if I may, Mayor
Sure,
Kisenberg,
Mr. Romani.
I believe the recommendation when we brought through the initial stormwater area report, the report was specifically just focusing on those key hamlet areas we assessed. So, but at that time we didn't have enough data to say specifically what in the future, what urban storm sewer systems would be required opposed to those under the Drainage Act. And I think that's the next step in the process. What we seek your endorsement from is to do further analysis on those particular hamlet areas, not Britain particularly. I don't think we were looking at them specifically, but you know, Atwood and Moncton and those larger settlement areas.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Blazek.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Thank you for your report, Ashton. When was the last time that the SAR was evaluated or increased?
I believe this, sorry, through Mayor Kasenberg, I believe the SAR was introduced in roughly 2019, 2018, around that time frame. It was I don't know the methodology particularly of how that number came into play, but it was slowly indexed each year. So as an example, this year for the 2026 budget, it went from $300,000 to 325. It was just a number just to kind of keep it going, kind of on an inflationary basis. And moving forward until we do the next rate study, it would be certainly a balancing act during the budget process. We would work during that time to determine what should be the incremental increase on the special area rate component and perhaps even the general tax levy component. But again, it's at the will of the mayor or council, depending how budget goes.
Councillor Duncan.
Thanks very much for your report, Ashton. This is definitely what I was looking for when I brought this up when we talked about this previously. Um, Stormwater is definitely expensive to move. There's no doubt about that. And it looks like we got a lot of infrastructure that's going to need replacement in the future. I guess I understand the idea behind special area rating. My worry about special area rating is it becomes a slippery slope as to what are we going to special area rate and what aren't we. We look around the municipality and some people get benefit larger to some items than others. So what's the next thing we're going to bring forward and want a special area rated to pay for it? And it becomes kind of a divisive wedge in the municipalities when we do things like that. So I guess I do have one question. Are we proposing to leave things the way they are now until we do the next stormwater rate study?
Through Mayor Kasenberg, yeah, the intent is to maintain it currently. And I think it's when we relook at the study to transition, if we took away the special area rate, and let's say we now go to a specific charge per property down the line, I don't know what it will be, but it's kind of hard to kind of go backwards a little bit. So it's easier to transition from what we have. And it also avoids a bit of shift in taxation dollars, as you kind of seen the shift of some listed properties now are going to pay less, and those outside of the listable boundary will pay more if we want to ensure that the funding envelope remains the same. Otherwise, we'll lose overall revenue for the municipality with respect to stormwater.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nordum.
Thanks, Mark Kasenberg. With the recommendation, we're going to give 5 years for kind of review, and we have a lot to do in the next 10 years. Is 5 years almost going to be too long? Like, we're almost kicking the can down to 2 councils from now. So maybe would 3 be better, or what would you think about that? Thanks, Ashton.
Through Mike Hazelberg, that's an excellent question. I think it really boils down to the capacity of infrastructure services for them to do, bring forward a budget to do an analysis or study of the hamlet areas, so that we have the cost of forecasted infrastructure to then bottle up in the upcoming rate study. So Mr. Rob isn't here tonight to kind of answer that timeline, so I'm not sure if Chris can comment on the ability workload-wise.
CEO Snell, did you want to weigh in?
Certainly understand where Councillor Nordum is coming from. However, as Treasurer Romney has said, we brought the stormwater rate in 2018. We knew we were falling behind on our stormwater, so we are ahead of many municipalities our size who haven't even looked at addressing this issue yet. So it does feel a little bit like we're kicking it down the road a bit, but we already have a start of 325,000. We still should look at putting that up every year as we proceed for the next 5 years, just so we don't fall further behind and even try and catch up a little bit.
I want to pick up on that piece, actually. So if I'm following the bouncing ball, with regards to the gap that is emerging over the next 10 years, 10 years from now, the demand that will be there, we need in each year's budget to implement an increase to create a stable financial situation for stormwater management that affects both the special area rate and the general levy rate if we're going to maintain that still two-part system. Am I right about that? Is that largely what we're thinking? It's quite interesting to me, actually, because when I saw the original letter from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture, I thought what they were looking for was almost an inverse of the special area rate, that rural areas would get a deeper discount than everybody else in the municipality. That's sort of how I interpreted it at the time, but in fact, that doesn't seem where we're going based on the report, at least. CEOs now.
So that 425 number that's in our budget was basically kind of the averaged contribution for the municipality to Drainage Act invoices. So those are our contributions out of the Drainage Act, roughly, on a over a time period. So much like farmers are having to pay under the Drainage Act, municipalities we have to pay under the Drainage Act. So that 425 is mostly gobbled up through our Drainage Act contributions. So that is, and all the roads are used by all the ratepayers. I certainly understand Councillor Duncan's point about area rating stuff. And probably, and this is why this is such a hard conversation, probably the urban roads should have some general area rating aspect to them too, whether they be in Bristol or Atwood or Moncton or wherever they are. But those are the sort of things I think we want to just dive into over the next 5 years and take a broader look at. This aspect of looking at stormwater is almost like a utility. It's fairly new. Some cities have got a little bit of a head start on us, but many rural places have not even looked at this topic yet.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate actually the insight. I hadn't fully closed the loop in my mind about the notion that the 425 includes our contribution to the Drainage Act remedies that are happening throughout North Perth in largely rural areas. That's a useful piece of information. Councillor Duncan.
I think one of the things that this council maybe needs to have some discussion about is whether or not we are willing to send a letter and lobby the provincial government to extend the grant process to municipal road crossings and upgrades during construction and maintenance of municipal drains to help out the municipalities' taxpayers as well.
Always entertaining to make a suggestion like that and invite the province to bring a wheelbarrow of money. I hear you, though. Councillor Rothman.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd, and I appreciate the work, Ashton, of you and your team. In some respects, when we're talking about special area rating, we don't call it that, but a municipal drain is clearly a municipal. It's a special area rate. It's only affecting those property owners within that area. It doesn't affect anyone else. So, as much as I understand the concern of Councillor Duncan, it's crucial that in urban scenarios, that our stormwater management facilities have the fiscal backing to be able to maintain those stormwater management facilities. And we know from an environmental standpoint that our stormwater infrastructure is going to be tested, and we will need more capacity, in my view, as our storms get more substantial and we have much more rain to be dealing with on an ongoing basis. So I appreciate what's been suggested here, that we need to look at this in 5 years' time, but I'm not concerned that we're treating anyone any less special because of special area rate. It affects those specific properties that truly do get that benefit. Frankly, if we don't have stormwater management facilities, especially in our urban areas, we are going to have flooded basements. And if we thought that there was a lot of money going into stormwater management, I assure you, we wouldn't be able to count the costs for flooded basements and so on. But those are my comments. Thank you.
Quite wise. Colleagues, anyone else want to weigh in on this one? All right, we have a recommendation. Yeah, actually, it doesn't recommend any change to the funding arrangements at this point in time. All it does is it suggests undertaking a review of the stormwater rate study in 5 years to align with the municipality's infrastructure and financial needs. 5 years, colleagues, are we comfortable with just making that recommendation forward? Is that okay? All right, can I call for a mover then on this one, Councillor Duncan? Not a mover, but a suggestion before we, yeah.
can we say 5 years or sooner if the capacity is is available to do the study sooner?
Yeah. Anyone object to that strongly at this point? Okay, so let's consider the resolution slightly adjusted to that purpose. All right, can I call for a mover then? Councillor Johnston, Deputy Mayor Callum as our seconder. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? All right, seeing none, as long as you keep in track with us, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, thanks for the work on this, Treasurer, Director Romani. Titles. All right, for item 9.3.2, we find ourselves facing a potential budget amendment at this point, and as mayor, I have directed the bringing forward of this amendment to deal with changed circumstances since our budget approval. I'll call on Director of Corporate Services Ashton Romani to walk us through this amendment and also through the weird new process that we had to figure out as a result of strong new mayor powers for budgeting. Mr. Romani, please.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. So council will recall that the 2026 budget was adopted in December with a total tax increase of 6.61%, or approximately $160 on the median residential property. So since the budget was initially published, the municipality had received finalized billing information from external service providers that was not readily available during the time that it was prepared. So before getting into the details, I want to clarify the purpose of this amendment. The operating budget amendments are not introducing new services or discretionary spending. It is updating the budget to reflect the firm cost the municipality is required to pay. Council is not generally deciding whether these costs exist, but rather when they are recognized within the budget. The operating budget amendments are driven by two external items. The first being the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority levy, which has been increased by roughly $50,000 due to salary grid implementation and ongoing program funding. These costs are legislated and not directly within the municipality's control. The second is the Ontario Provincial Police contract, which is increased by approximately $68,000 beyond initial expectations. This reflects full application of the provincial cap, as well as higher dedicated service-related costs. More importantly, the province's billing model defers a portion of these costs due to the cap. As a result, while we're seeing an increase in 2026, we believe there will be a minimum increase of approximately $325,000 in 2027, or approximately 1.5%, creating a future known pressure when it comes to the operating budget. The amendment also reflects the removal of Perth Meadows' operating budget following the transfer to United Housing. As this program was fully self-funded, this has no impact on the general tax levy, but ensures the budget reflects current operations as a whole. So based on these updates, the general tax levy is increasing by approximately $118,000, bringing the total levy to $23.2 million. This results in a revised total tax increase of 5.69% for general municipal services and a 1.4% increase for the OPP contract. So coupling these together, this totals a 7.15% increase, or approximately $173.82 annually, or $14.49 per month on a median residential property. This is a $13.82 annual change over the initial 2026 budget that was adopted. So in addition, 3 capital projects are included in the amendments, as they would have come under separate council reports to gain approval later in the year. At a high level, these relate to administrative space planning, records management implementation, and as you've seen tonight and also still ongoing, council AV system replacement. All of these projects are funded from reserves and do not impact the tax levy. This report has been discussed with the mayor, as mentioned, and staff will work with the mayor to circulate a formal budget amendment should council endorse these recommendations this evening. Council is asked to also approve modified timelines under the Strong Mayor framework to allow the process to align with the upcoming council meetings in April. So similar to how we, when we endorsed the staff proposed version, we modified the timeline so that they would line up on a council meeting date if council opted to make an amendment at that point in time. So we will leave that opportunity open. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm tempted to say, are we having fun yet? But, colleagues, this is the opportunity to ask questions or make comments. Councillor Andrees.
Thank you through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Last year, I believe the province did provide some relief to municipalities around the police budget. Just wondering if there's any provincial relief coming at all that we're aware of, or any sense of that? Thanks.
Yeah. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg, I don't believe there's any additional relief coming forward. I believe the cap was the province's step at this point in time to kind of mitigate the impacts that we're seeing. So to add some further context, the calculated billing for North Perth this year would have been $3.8 million, but with the cap provision, we're only paying 3.3. But we're going to see, again, another up to 11% next year. So that cost is not going to disappear for probably the next 2 or 3 years.
Policing is proving to be very expensive, and the province decided to limit its liability to a certain cap, right? So that 11% is their projected cap, I believe. But in fact, I think our actuals would have been a 21% or 22% increase in policing costs. We were spared from that because the province weighed in with its cap, but that doesn't change the fact that we're still taking a 11% hit, and that's probably, as Tricia Romani said, in play for the next few years. Growth, it's a consequence too of growth. Let's not forget that, right? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you very much, Mayor Todd, and thanks, Ashton, for the report. I think this municipality certainly appreciates what the conservation authorities do, and I'm not in any way concerned about the proposed budget amount. What my question is, and perhaps through you, Mayor Kasenberg, Councillor Duncan might be able to give us some idea, because frankly I have none, in terms of when the implementation is going to happen. With the province, frankly, they did not listen to 90% of the comments that basically said leave conservation authorities the way they are. Municipalities and others pay the majority of the costs, and the province pays less than, depending on the circumstance, certainly less than 5%. Nevertheless, we're going from 36 conservation authorities to 9, as I understand. And will we see, this is the question, and will we see potential change in the budget allocation being requested yet in 2026? Or will this be a surprise, just as the response from the province was regarding the conservation authorities? Thanks.
I think maybe we'll call on CAO Snell first, but we'll let you in if you want to come in, Councillor Duncan, based on your role with the Maitland Valley Authority. CAO Snell, you want to give Council a brief update as to the proposed financing changes for conservation authorities under the new structure?
So, to answer Councillor Rothwell's initial question, is the implementation or phasing has not been officially set with a timetable. They keep saying sometime in 2027. They talk about there'll be possibly 2 components of the budget in 2027, one under the old structure and one under the new structure, but that is yet to be finalized. The way the legislation is right now is that conservation authorities will no longer be on the lower tier tax levy, but we move to a region or a county tax levy. But of course, in Perth County's case, they'll pay into 3 conservation authorities.
Okay, Councillor Duncan, did you have anything you wish to add?
So what the general manager tells me is that we're supposed to prepare a budget for 2026. Now, we're going to have that prepared by October, because October is the last meeting of Maitland Valley as we see it today. The province haven't given us any hard direction on how this transition is going to work, but they're supposedly going to put a transition team together with funding from the province to pay for the transition team. I'll be honest, I don't really have any more information than that because the province isn't forthcoming with any more information. So,
If I might, the whole experience so far, as I think we all know, has been surprise.
Thanks very much,
Councillor
Mayor
Rothwell.
Caseberg, and thanks, CEO Snell, and thanks, Councillor Duncan, for your comments. I did not want to muddy the waters, honestly. I didn't want to do that, but not knowing what else, what other shoe could drop on with respect to conservation authorities yet in 2026 for our budget was a concern that I have, and I think all of us have. And if it is 2027, I guess we'll have to deal with, well, the new council will deal with it then. Nevertheless, thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else with comments or questions before we consider the resolution? All right, as follows, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth endorses the proposed 2026 budget amendments, and that in accordance with the Strong Mayor Framework, Council approves the modification of the legislative timelines for the Mayor's budget amendment process as follows. Council amendment period to 20 days, Mayor veto period to 1 day, and Council veto override period to 13 days. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Nordum. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you, Mr. Romani, for figuring out how we move forward with the process in addition to the actual challenges. All right, let's move to item 10 on our agenda. Does any member of council wish to ask for a report from staff or from one of our committees? Not seeing that tonight. For item 11, we have received one item of correspondence beyond those already shared in the consent agenda for council's disposition. As item 11.1, we have received a request for a letter of support from the Atwood Lions in their application to the Ministry of Transportation Ontario for permission to close Main Street Atwood for the 2026 Canada Day Parade. Does anyone object to us considering this? All right, then we have a resolution as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth provides a letter of support to the Atwood Lions Club for the temporary closure of Highway 23 from line 77 to line 72 to facilitate the annual Canada Day Parade on July 1st, 2026, commencing at 1:30 p.m. for a duration of approximately 1 hour. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Andreessen, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. At this point, we turn to consideration of bylaws that have been recommended to us for tonight. We have 4 of them that have been provided for our consideration, and the enabling resolution outlines for each bylaw their number and purpose. But before we read this enabling resolution, does anyone wish to extract one or more of them for individual consideration or revision? Okay, I'm not seeing it. So as follows, the following bylaws are hereby passed. 21-2026 being a bylaw to authorize the maintenance and repair of the McCourt Municipal Drain main drain. 22-2026 being a bylaw to authorize the maintenance and repair of the McCourt Municipal Drain Branch A. 23-2026 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 6-ZN-1999 as amended. And 25-2026 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a transfer payment agreement with the Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Rothwell, seconded by Councillor Anstead. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 13 on our agenda. For item 13.1, does any councillor wish to give leave of notice for our next meeting? Okay, I'm not seeing it, so let's move to item 14 on our agenda. For item 14, are there any announcements that would be a benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? And we'll take it from anyone in the chamber, and if there's anyone online, which I don't think there is anymore, Councillor Nordum.
Thanks, Mayor Caseberg. Sorry, I've been away for a while, so I'll take you back to a much colder day on February 27th. That day, North Perth, they hosted a grant boot camp that was hosted at the Ag Hall. I believe there was around 40 people that RSVP'd, and we got around 70. So it was very well attended. Lots of chairs had to get added to the group. We almost even had to add water to the soup. So it was very well attended, and I appreciate everyone that attended. Thank you very much.
That's great. And that's good work coming from our team. So,
yeah, especially Matt Cardiff.
Yeah.
Big shout out.
Good job. Anyone else? Did we have a report on the Gordheimers hockey tournament? Besides the fact that Daryl Sittler was in town and no one told me? Oh, you're going to show me. All right. Okay. Doug is going to show me. All right. That's great. I missed the memo, apparently. Councillor Rothwell, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Todd. I just want to inform council and staff and public. I believe it's been broadly shared, but the Ontario Agri-Food Science Centre has their annual meeting coming up this Thursday at the Trillium Mutual Insurance Company. RSVP is required to attend, but there will be further presentation of the architectural renderings of the proposed development west of the Steve Kerr arena, and further members of council that were there, including the mayor, Councillor Duncan, Councillor Johnson, and myself. It was very, very exciting to see it unveiled, those designs unveiled earlier at the golf course in the last 2 weeks. And if anyone does have the opportunity to go, I encourage you to RSVP and hear the good work that Steve Dolson as chair and certainly all the directors are doing to bring a world-class facility to North Perth, the first of its kind in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. I'll second those motions. I think the architecture that we saw that night was incredible, actually, and would be an incredible witness to this community's work and passion for agriculture should it come to fruition. All right. Anyone else with an announcement before we move forward to closed session meeting? All right, I'm not seeing it, so let's consider a resolution that allows us to enter into closed session meeting of council as follows. The council proceeds in camera at 8:22 p.m. to address a matter pertaining to the following personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, regarding Celebrate North Perth awards. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Anstett, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote.
I'm in favor, Mayor Caseberg.
Councillor Anstett records a manual in favor vote, and with that, we have the votes required. That is carried. Thank you. Those who do not need to be in the chamber should exit at this point. We will make the transition for audiovisual purposes. Let's take a 7-minute health break, comfort break, and we'll return. We have returned from our closed session meeting, and I can report on item 16. The council did discuss the matter identified in our enabling resolution for a closed session meeting of council and gave staff direction pertaining to the matter that was considered, the essence of which will remain confidential at this time for the reasons that were stipulated in our enablement of closed session. Council has a mandated good practice acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called the confirmatory bylaw. Note that Councillor Blazic has exited the room. I will now read the enabling resolution for our confirmatory bylaw as follows: that bylaw 24-2026, being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, is hereby passed. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Andreessen, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. Councillor Andreessen records a manual in favor vote. Are we missing one? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. And let's invite Councillor Blazek back into the chamber. Colleagues, for our bylaws that touch on provincial priorities considered and passed at tonight's meeting, I am in support and will not execute a veto. This information is to be provided to the clerk as part of my required duties as mayor. We have completed deliberation and taken action on the business that came before us tonight. It is thus appropriate for us to consider a adjournment resolution. I have a motion to that effect as follows. The council meeting adjourns at 9 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday. It says April 13th. I think that's right. April 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Blazek, seconded by Councillor Nornham. It's not a debatable motion. Let's have that vote. And that is carried. Our next regular council meeting is Monday, April 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Until our next meeting, this council is adjourned.